Hello, this is Miss Andrea, and this is not another homeschool vlog. Today, I want to talk about college admission stuff. I'm in our homeschooling, looking at questions about college admissions. Why? Because if you have a homeschooled senior, you need to be finishing up those college applications right now. So let's get started. Experience with homeschool kids and college admissions discussion. I'm fascinated by how much college admissions has changed since I was applying to colleges 20 years ago. I'm curious about recent experiences of homeschooling parents sending kids to college. What was it like? I was homeschooled in the 90s when it was the Wild West. Homeschoolers now are so much luckier now when it comes to curriculum and opportunities available. But I think it worked out in my favor when applying to college in some ways, especially coupled with how much easier it was to get into college and to get scholarships years ago. I was accepted to other colleges I applied to and received more than one full scholarship based, I assume, mostly off my SATs, since that was the only thing to corroborate my homemade transcript. I don't think it's that easy for our kids anymore, so I'm curious about actual lived experiences. My kids finished homeschooling, I think the youngest in 2013, went to college on a full academic scholarship. And so it's not super recent, but I'll get into kids I have helped more recently in a moment. In the meanwhile, my kids attended a homeschool program where they had mostly elective classes, and they did their core work at home, mostly through, I used public school textbooks and Khan Academy and videos to educate my kids. And I wrote their transcripts. Their SATs did, in fact, corroborate their portfolios. So here's the thing. Um, a lot of colleges these days are saying that SATs are not super important, that they're waiving SATs. And a lot of people are like, oh, good, they're waiving SATs. They're still looking at the kids who took the SATs and who did well in the SATs first. The kids who didn't take the SATs, their applications are being looked at last. So please keep that in mind and encourage your homeschool kids to take their standardized tests, SAT, ACT, PSAT, all that, right? And here's why the SAT is so important. Say you put your kid through homeschool math. Say you use some combination of Khan Academy and a random textbook. And your child paced through it. They did fine, and you gave them an A. You gave them an A in algebra. You gave them an A in geometry. You gave them an A in algebra 2. Let's say you gave them a B in pre-calc. If they take the SAT and their math score is under 600, they're going to think that you did not give them honest grades. They're going to think that you inflated their grades. And so then everything your child did on that in that portfolio, everything that you graded in that portfolio is now suspect. So your child's SAT math score or ACT math score needs to be indicative of the grades that you gave that child. So I'm a real fan of penciling in math grades as a child goes along, but you need to be retesting and re-practicing that math. So when they get to the SAT, their SAT score is representative of the math that they currently know. Does that seem a little unfair to homeschoolers? Yeah, it does. But if your SAT math score and the math grades that you have written on the portfolio are not commensurate, they're not going to look at it the same way that they look at public schoolers, where you can get all A's and then test poor. They're looking at that SAT to corroborate the grades you have. So, say they got A algebra, A geometry, A algebra 2, and pre-calc. Their SAT math should be in the 700s because that is indicative of the fact that they know these maths, right? And so that's just the clearest barometer for colleges to look and make sure that they can trust that homeschool portfolio. It is better for your child to have all B's in math because B's aren't bad. In my state, B's still get you Hope Scholarship, right? So it's better for your child to just have all B's in math if they're going to get between 500 and 600 on the SAT in the math section than to have A's, because that'll get your application tossed. Whereas B's would be like, that's about right. They got a 560 math SAT and looks like they've been tracking B's in math. That makes sense. I can trust this portfolio. Similar things for the language arts part of the SAT. If your child has a book list showing that they've read 40 books over the 4 years or more, I think my daughter had 100, then the SAT score should be commensurate to that. I think my daughter's SAT math was over 700, and she had this long list of books she had read, and she had taken Shakespeare classes and things of that nature. You can't give kids all A's in language arts without A, detailing everything that they've studied, and B, without that showing up in the SAT grade. So this is why the SAT is important, because the SAT helps them to look at the portfolio and decide if they can believe it or not. And once they decided that they can believe your SAT, then everything you've written on your SAT is gold. Does that make sense? So how do you get to college with scholarships as a homeschooler? So we've already discussed showing that your portfolio is legit by making sure the children have studied and kept studying, so that when they take these standardized tests, it corroborates the portfolio. The second thing you need to do is, when they take the standardized test, look at the score they have, and then look at colleges that accept students with that score. And not just students with that score, but students, their stronger students have that score. If your child gets 1150 total on the SAT, and you're looking at colleges, you plug in colleges with 1150 SAT score. Don't look at the college where that 1150 is the minimum score they can get. Did I say that right? You're going to see that 1150 in the graph of scores that a college accepts. Your child's score should be one of the higher scores if you're going to be getting a scholarship from that school. And simply put, the way I've done it is, say they have an 1150. I'm going to type in and search for 1000 SAT score as your typical SAT score for that school. So now that 1150 is putting your children in higher academic than the average student there. And that's what's going to make the schools go ahead and immediately, along with the acceptance letter, offer you a merit scholarship based on the SAT alone. Now, I'm being real generous. 1150 is super mediocre, but I'm saying that number just to let you know that even mediocre students can get college scholarships if they're going to a college where they are going to be successful. Because there's all kinds of colleges. There's Ivy Leagues, there's your state Ivies, I call them, your more stringent state colleges, there's your middle state colleges, there's your private colleges, there's your Christian colleges, which are all extremely homeschool friendly. Those smaller colleges are probably going to be better for your typical homeschooled student, because it's going to be a more relaxed atmosphere, more one-on-one attention, and these are places where homeschool students thrive. And that's kind of why those schools accept lower SAT scores, because they know that they have the system set up that is going to allow those kids to be successful. So now I'm going to look at how some people replied to that initial question. College admissions is not a problem for homeschoolers at all. All my kids have gone to college, and we've homeschooled through high school. Among the colleges they have been accepted to are in-state universities, out-of-state private colleges, elite music college, and an Ivy. All of our friends, considerable number because we homeschooled 20 years with kids widely spaced apart, who have wanted to go to college have gone, recognizing that they and their parents have worked together to be sure they're both prepared to do the work and have strong applications. Homeschool students who are college bound need outside evidence of their college readiness. Test scores is one way to show, but that is far from the only way. Dual enrollment in community college is especially common. These days, the last 10 years, dual enrollment is huge. I recommend that when they hit the 11th grade, they go on and dual enroll in college math and language arts. Do college math first semester, language arts the second semester, because those also count as high school courses. Now, that means your child would have had to do algebra, geometry, and algebra 1 prior to this. And my recommendation is you get algebra done in grade 8, geometry in grade 9, and algebra 2 in grade 10, so that in 10th grade you can dual enroll and do college math. If your kid was in public school and we were doing APs, it would be the same thing. They would be taking AP courses in that 11th grade or earlier. So I would definitely plan on doing that. Our experience is that homeschoolers have an advantage in college admissions as long as they can demonstrate college prep readiness. It's true. My kids were unschooled, but we had no trouble translating their learning into accurate transcripts. And by the time they were older teens, they selected experiences and courses with our guidance that helped with the admissions process. Something about outside courses also, it doesn't have to only be dual enrollment. Your children can use the CLEP, College Learning Examination Program, and test through some things where they've gleaned knowledge just being out and about or through their interests. You can take colleges and workshops out in the community. The more outside exposure they have to subjects, the better. Parents should absolutely consider it part of their responsibility to create high school transcripts for every kid who homeschools through high school. Colleges absolutely take them seriously, and homeschool grads are at a disadvantage without them. But with transcripts and outside evidence of college prep, college is in the picture for homeschool grads. I don't really think I need to read much more about that. And so here's what's up. I am digging in right now with helping kids get their college applications out. They've moved college application dates up, especially for rolling admissions colleges. The earlier you get in your application, the better chance your child is going to have of getting in. And if you get in your application in November, they'll have their acceptance in January. And no, they'll have their acceptances in December and they'll have their scholarships in January. I have 2 seniors I am working with right now. One has already been accepted to her gold college with a scholarship that is more than 50% at this time, and they haven't even done scholarship weekend yet. She just off the bat got that. So things look really good for her. Another child is going the entertainment route, and he has auditioned in the regional auditions and has gotten letters from several colleges' recruitment offices for theater. And they treat entertainment children very much like they treat athletes. And so he's gotten direct contact, and his applications are going out shortly to directly to those people who have contacted him. So that looks really good. This is my specialty. I've been homeschooling since 2002 and helping kids get into college since about 2010. It is now 2024. If you have a senior who needs to apply, contact me. If you have a junior who is going to be looking to apply next year, also contact me. I'm going to start working with juniors in January, and I'm going to be spending the next 2 months getting seniors' applications out. I'm going to finally finish setting up my subscribe thing through YouTube. There's a company that contacted me for an expert program where people could pay me for the expertise that way, but they're being really slow to set it up. I'm going to go ahead and set up my membership through YouTube where people can join and have access to me to help them get their applications out and their portfolios done. So That's all I have for today because my phone won't stop ringing. So we'll talk to you soon. Till next time.